Everybody, and welcome back to Space Engineers 2. Here we have a luxury cruise ship built by me. So this thing took about a week to build. I've got a full-time job, so I wasn't able to dedicate all my time to it, but in total this probably took a grand total of probably 10 hours of building time. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. I'm gonna go ahead and do a showcase, and then we will crash it. So I'll show off the exterior of the ship. As you can see, there are, I believe it's 5, 10, there are a total of 20 passenger rooms outfitted with televisions, tables, beds, etc. At this time in Space Engineers, Space Engineers 2, there is not a ton of decorative blocks. These are the luxury suites in the back for, you know, the super duper ritzy fancy rich customers. However, I didn't really decorate these as much because I'm starting to run into PCU limits while building this, and also a lot of the furniture that's inside of the ship, as you can see in that center area, it's still pretty empty. A lot of the furniture that's inside is going to get replaced in the future. I'll add future updates as more decorative blocks get added to the game. So I did spend quite a bit of time on, for example, those tables in there, and kind of these pool tables, but I am hoping in the future that the developers add more decorative blocks so I can just remove all that and then add, for example, a nicer table, or I don't know, maybe they'll add a pool table in the future, or an air hockey table or something. I don't know. So now that we have seen the exterior of the ship, let's go ahead and there's two ways of entering the ship. We've got the back here where passengers would get on a little shuttle ferry or something. They'd come in here, and this is where their luxury cruise would begin. So we've got a medical bay over here. Again, a lot of this is still pretty empty because frankly I kind of ran out of things to add to the ship, largely due to a lack of decorative blocks, because you can use detailing blocks to make all kinds of cool little things, but and you'll see some of what I made in other areas of the ship, but again, you start to run into PCU limit issues. So you can see all the cargo that we got in here. We got a reactor. This is a little backup pilot seat. The ship is still a work in progress, and I will be updating it as more content gets added to the game. Here is the crew quarters. Currently there are 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 8 bunks. Again, subject to change. I may add more, or there might also be just a certain amount of suspension of disbelief. We got toilets over here. We got showers, hand washing. Yeah, this is the meager life that the crew would live on the cruise ship, while the passengers live a life of luxury. So we shall continue on. Another issue that I ran into, and actually, so real quick, one thing I want to do is at some point I want to build statues here. And here, I'm hoping some sort of statues get added to the game, as well as things like couches and such. If somebody can make, because I know that they're opening up mods at some point in the game's development, if people can make simple furniture that would just be one PCU as a like a furniture block, and wouldn't, because this is, I don't know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to count all these right here, but this is a lot of small detailing blocks just to make a couch. I feel like there's a more efficient way to do furniture in the game. And here are these dining tables. Yeah, so this area over here is supposed to be kind of a dining lounge area where, just like on a cruise ship, where I say that, but I've never actually been on a cruise ship. But I assume on a cruise ship, they have kind of lounge dining areas. We got couches over here, pool table over yonder, and then up there, that's where the luxury, high class, first class passengers can look down upon the peasants. Over here is where you would go to the bar to get some drinks or food. Obviously, because this is a luxury cruise liner, crew would also be taking food out to passengers who order it at their tables. So when you come into here to, well, where to start? Okay, so to the left, because it's a cruise ship, I had to add a pool, of course. So here's this little mini bar, and you got your tables and such, so forth over here. People can order drinks here and over here, and bada bing, bada boom. We got a pool and a hot tub. So as of right now, I thought about putting blue blocks in here in order to represent water. But there were two reasons why I did not. One is PCU count, and I keep referring to PCU count. I believe that's physics controlled units, or physics calculated units is what PCU stands for. So yeah, the juice was just not worth the squeeze on putting blue blocks in it just to represent water. And hopefully in the future, I know that they will be adding water to the game on planets. I'm wondering if you'll be able to add water to interiors of ships such as this. So that'd be interesting. I don't know. I'll see how that goes in the future and see whether I'll be adding blue blocks or just leave it as is. And so here's a gym in here. We got one of those little lifting mats or a yoga mat. We got some not so great representations of weights right here. You know, yeah, a little rough. Yeah, but I think you could look at it, and if you squint your eyes really hard, it kind of does look like a gym, sorta. You know, with a treadmill and, you know, a bench over there. In here we got our kitchen. I didn't want to go completely hog wild because I could have made the kitchen a lot larger with essentially all these same items but more of them. But again, PCU limits, and I'm really hoping in the future that we're able to have a single block as like a stove, or a single block. Yeah, so these are really both stoves. It's just two ways of depicting a stove, or a sink, like a single block as a sink. That'd be kind of cool instead of building a sink like this. Same thing with tables that aren't just the table, but a table with items on it. That'd be kind of cool to have as a single block. And then we got a freezer over here as well. Alright, so here is the main room. There's not a ton in here. It's pretty empty, and that was largely because of PCU considerations, but also I just kind of was running out of stuff to build. I was going to add more tables over here. I still might in the future, but again, waiting for that to become more feasible, because just the amount of furniture that I have set up over here, here, and then in all the rooms, it really does add up. Plus I've got over here, each one of these is its own individual detailing block. So a lot of that really adds up, and because I want this to be a functional ship, it's, yeah, I've got a pretty beefy computer, and even I get a lot of lag spikes with it. And really, I wanted to build something that the community could actually, you know, have fun with. And so part of that is I have to take into account the fact that not everybody has a super powerful gaming computer. So here is the standard room, and as of right now, the standard passenger room is actually nicer than the luxury rooms at the back of the ship. Again, really banking on the fact that in the future there will be more content released for the game that will allow me to reduce the number of blocks in each room. Like, so again, every single block on this floor is a small detailing block that's painted. There's probably more efficient ways to go about this. Again, and this table is like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 3 times 4 is 12, so that's 30. This is like 30, 35 blocks, just this one table. Maybe 30, something like that. I don't know. I tried to rapidly do that math in my head. So I also used a lot of windows on the ship, so I know that is a significant for your graphics card. I get things like windows and lights do affect physics in the game quite a bit, and one of the things that I'm gonna have to look at in the future when I'm updating this is kind of streamlining the performance. And it's not a knock against the game or the engine. It's that this ship it's a beefy ship with a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts, a lot of lights, a lot of stuff to it. One thing that you'll notice, and I'll actually probably show you, I can take the ship behind an asteroid where the sun is not showing, and light does not spread very widely amongst the interior. So you can see as I kind of pan over to the left, a lot of these areas you would think would be a little bit better lit. See, we're getting some of these lag spikes. These side rooms are just kind of like lag. Yeah, these side rooms are just to access the engines, the thrusters. Back here we have the luxury suites. So again, work in progress, got to add more to this. So each of these floors is built out of individual detailing blocks, so I will be able to paint designs into the floor here. I'm not 100% sure if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze on that when I factor in PCU count and how that's going to affect performance. Over here, at some point in the future, I plan on adding kitchens. Here I've got, their extra large showers for these bougie guests, and extra large bathrooms. But again, so this is another PCU decision that I had to make, is instead of having the wall all be like with the passenger rooms, all the walls are made out of detailing blocks. So I could add a window, or I could add, well, not all the walls, but most of them. I could add a window or a television that was recessed into the wall. But in these luxury rooms, as of right now, so like these blocks behind here are large size blocks. So I could not recess this television into the wall. I had to have it mounted on the wall. All right. So here we got a whole stair system, and it complete with railings because it's a cruise liner and we got to be safe. We have I really don't know what I'm going to add over on each wing of over here. Maybe offices or little shops or something. But again, I'm sort of waiting on them to add more decorative blocks because there's only so much that I can do with the blocks in the game currently, and you can definitely get super detailed and make cool looking stuff like pool tables and that kitchen, but the number of blocks really adds up, and it does have an effect on the usability of the ship. So here we got a little catwalk where the upper class of passengers can look down on the peasants. One thing you may notice is I avoided using, so as you can see, I've used windows, both the half pane windows and the slanted windows as guardrails, because I don't want to use the Space Engineers 2 does have guardrails, and I actually did use them on the exterior of the ship. But I think they kind of have more of a exterior aesthetic versus this, which has more of a futuristic modern aesthetic to it. And there's areas of the ship where I had to kind of, because things just don't fit right, I had to kind of just figure out a visually pleasing way of making things fit. Like right here, these are all detailing blocks. So up here, oh, you know, I forgot railings on this side, so I may have to add those in the future as well. So these are supposed to be offices. Again, I added tables, but like one side was going to be a conference room office, and the other one was going to be just an office. But I had mirroring turned on, and so I built this conference table on both sides. I'm not super concerned about it because, again, the ship is still a work in progress, and because I'm kind of ready to move on to other projects, and we've hit a point with this ship where I can't really add a whole lot more without just having an absurd number of blocks, which is not really the goal here. The goal here is to have a functional luxury cruise ship. Here is the bridge of the ship. For the ship's size, it's actually quite maneuverable. So part of my intent in designing this ship was not actually to have a super duper maneuverable ship. It's supposed to be pretty slow because it's a cruise ship. You don't want your passengers to be strewn about the ship just because, you know, for the designer, being me, didn't consider the fact that, hey, people are on this ship to relax. They're not on this ship to, you know, go into space battles and such. So things like maneuverability, that can actually be a negative, because if your cruise ship is going too fast and maneuvering too hard, could be quite unpleasant. Alright, well, I think I've showed off the ship quite a bit. Actually, one more thing. I actually was going to add a whole nother row of passenger rooms. So that'd be a total of 30 rooms. Excuse me, no. So it's 5, 10, 20. Yeah, it would have been 30 rooms total. But, again, PCU limit sort of stuff. And also, hang on real quick. You can see down there, I've added those windows. Those were supposed to be shops. Currently, they're closed off, so you can't even, from the interior of the ship, there's that area, and there's other areas of the ship that they are blocked off from the interior, so you can't see that there is a space in there to build. I have those kind of set aside for the future so that I could add like shops, restaurants, all that on the ship. Or even more luxury rooms. But again, I really, in order to keep the ship usable, I need to factor in PCU count, and also I'm not just trying to litter the ship with a whole bunch of furniture and stuff that's supposed to, you know, like right here, this cockpit is 1 block, and the PCU count for this cockpit it's going to be more than 1. It's going to be like, hang on, let me check what it is actually. Let me find out real quick. Here's a bed. It has a PCU count of 1, but if I were to make this bed out of detailing blocks, it'd probably be 150 detailing blocks or something. Okay, this cockpit, oh my goodness, this cockpit, it has a PCU count of 100. So, again, it would take way more blocks than 100 in order to recreate something that somewhat looks like this. I don't know, maybe that's something that I could experiment on in the future and do the math on to see whether it's worth it to use blocks like these or whether it's worth it to just build everything out of detailing blocks. But I tend to think that it's probably better to just use these sort of blocks. These furniture blocks. I think they're better. And also I think when there's actually a collision, these respond differently. The computer, if I crash a ship and the pilot seat gets hit and takes damage, it's just gonna break, or it'll smoke and break. If I have a pilot seat that's built out of 150 PCU detailing blocks, well, the computer's going to have to calculate every single one of those blocks taking damage and how many of them are going to get destroyed and how many of them are just going to get damaged. So it does add up and make a difference. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and crash this. Because let's be real, that's what this channel's about. This is what I do, is I crash ships on Space Engineers 2. Alright, let's hit the blue ship. I'm not actually sure that the blue ship's going to even be able to stop us at all because of how much mass is behind this. Alright, let's get up to speed. To be honest with you, I've done a little bit of testing with this ship, but ooh, we might even clip the red ship. I've done a little bit of testing with this, but nothing too crazy, and I've actually not been over 100 miles an hour in this ship. Oh, that was like nothing. Excuse me, it was nothing to my ship. The other ship had a bad day. So the reverse thrusters, they're definitely on the weaker side. That's something that I may get to in the future. I'm not super concerned about it now with this being a cruise ship. They would probably chart a course, get up to a certain speed, and then coast. Lag. Okay, so last time I was high, I was way too high, so I need to aim like pretty far low. I think I'm way too low. Ah, lag. Solid. Alright, let's check out the damage. What's amazing? Oh, wow. That's cool. And so because we are close to the other ship, there are going to be certain areas of the ship where you can see up here that the gravity of the two ships is fighting each other. Right here. So that's a cool update. Wow, okay. So the passengers are panicking and freaking out. You know, one thing that I could probably add in the future is escape pods. Don't want this to be like the Titanic where, oh wow, yeah, passenger, I mean, they're gonna feel that hit, but you know, they'll be completely fine. Let's see, oh wow, yeah, that's the whole front of the ship is completely gone. Maybe if you're eating lunch or something over here, you might have witnessed the whole thing. Huh, the couch there got jacked up. Wow, it is. Wow, yeah, gone. Good stuff. Looks like if you're working in the kitchen, you'd be fine, though. Huh. Let's check out the red ship, see what it did to the red ship. Yeah, this thing is... Yeah, this thing is totaled. Yeah, man, I don't think the insurance is going to cover this. Huh. Alright, well. Good stuff. Well, until next time.